happy end of May. Today's it, you guys. This is the last day. It's a new beginning for all of us. So I couldn't think of a better way to sort of wrap up May and embark into June than having a presentation on Donna's birthday. And having that presentation be on the 4 big reasons to put service at the center of your life. I think it goes without saying that probably most of us are service people, right? We wouldn't be in this industry helping injured workers either directly or indirectly, or associates in recovery, as Dr. Musselman has beautifully and eloquently put it. So I think that service is naturally at the center of most of our lives. That's just the way we're built, it's sort of in our DNA. So I think a lot of this is going to resonate with you guys. And my intention is that this presentation is interactive, right? You can post things in the chat. I'll pull it up from time to time and you'll be able to see my screen. And then if there's something that kind of, triggers some kind of thought in you, just speak up. This isn't like Lucia has all the answers kind of presentation, not at all. But I've always been into service. And I think that this presentation felt really easy for me to put together because it just felt authentic. So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Lucia Galindo. And today we're talking about the 4 big reasons to put service at the center of your life. Let me minimize this guy. All right. So I'm here with Bloom today. And aside from being the NorCal chapter leader for Bloom, I'm also the VP of Business Development, holistic VP of Business Development. I saw Licia's here, for Rehab One Medical Group. So we treat associates in recovery, formerly known as injured workers or claimants, with their needs that are usually related to chronic pain. I'm also a fitness expert, so I teach classes like yoga and indoor cycling, HIIT classes, hot HIIT classes. I mean, you name it, I teach it. I've been doing this for as long as I've pretty much been alive, 18 years now. And then I'm also, outside of that, an end-of-life coach. So I assist the dying, and I know that sounds a little interesting. I'm happy to discuss that with you guys more. But I assist the dying with their end-of-life transition and also support the family and friends of loved ones as they're entering that chapter of their life. And then I'm also a board-certified holistic health practitioner. So holistic is the name of my game. I absolutely love helping people, which is why, again, if you missed that intro, putting service at the center of my life has always been my life. So this presentation felt really authentically easy to create. Our agenda is to be in service allows for you to be happy and healthy. That's, I think, first and foremost. And then secondarily, it allows us to learn and grow. And we'll get into all of these in more detail. Also, I think we've all experienced this in giving, you receive, right? So sometimes, I don't want to say selfishly we give, because we're not being selfish when we give, but there is a tremendous receipt that we receive whenever we're in the service of giving. And then the last big reason is that change starts with you. And so we'll get more into detail with what all these things mean. Any questions so far? I see some things in the chat here. Greetings, everyone. Yeah, greetings, and good early afternoon. Good morning for me. It's 9 o'clock in California. Drinking my tea, so you'll see me take a couple sips of tea. So service defined, when we think of service, sometimes our worlds might take us to things like religion. Sometimes it takes us to things like community. Sometimes when we think of service, we think of actually serving our own needs, because oftentimes I think when we're, again, in this field, it's very natural to be in service to others, but also realizing when you need to be in service to self. I think that's really important. I think that's something that we probably, for the most part, are all guilty of not doing enough of. So service defined, and these are just my definitions. This isn't a Webster's dictionary definition. Service to me means to be useful. Service means to help. Service means to assist. To do something for the benefit and goodwill of another person, or maybe a group, or animals. We'll get into that later. And service to me means to look outside of yourself, beyond your own problems. And Lord knows we got lots of problems, I'm sure, in our own lives, and seek to bring value to others. So again, it's looking beyond your bubble, your worldview, even at times, right? Because you're going to be challenged sometimes when you're in service to other people that may not agree with everything you have to say. And I'll give you guys an interesting situation that happened to my sister and I once in San Francisco. More to come. So again, our first big reason to put service at the center of your life is because don't we all want to be happy and healthy? Aren't those the two things? Like without health, I mean, they say that health is the greatest wealth, and I couldn't agree more. So did you know that being in service to others is actually a form of a brain boost, right? So your body releases oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. These are brain chemicals. It's literally a biological response whenever you give. I mean, that's a win-win. So you make someone else feel better, you feel better, like physiologically. I think that's pretty sweet. The other thing about putting service at the center of your life is it has this amazing ability to shift your perspective, to shift your focus. And in that process of shifting the focus onto someone or something or some other organization beyond yourself, you're actually gaining longevity. And there are articles to support this. I know it sounds a little foo-foo, but it's not. You will live a longer life on average by being in service to others. I think that's amazing. You also gain a new worldview, right? Because sometimes, the first example that comes to mind is homelessness. You're now entering into someone else's world that's not your own, right? But thinking about when you give to a homeless person, it doesn't have to be money. It could be food, it could be water, it could be blankets. You now have shifted your perspective into their world for just a moment. And then I believe in doing so, you're able to find your own purpose. Like sometimes it just kind of recalibrates you in life. And just when you thought that your problems were just crazy out of this world, you think that life can't go on this way, you give, and suddenly that perspective has the ability to change. And I think that's phenomenal. In putting service at the center of your life, you also have a pain reducer at your disposal. So there are lots of studies to support this, you guys, and I think it's fascinating. I love biology, I love chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and it is fascinating to me that when you put others' needs in front of your own, it can literally reduce your pain. So being that I work predominantly in the chronic pain field as my full-time job at Rehab One, we always make sure that we're coaching our patients and educating them on this particular thing. So I did include an article, and I'm happy to share this presentation with anybody that wants it. But there's literally an article that altruistic behaviors relieve physical pain. And this isn't some foo-foo article, right? This is like the National Library of Medicine. So you're welcome to read this on your own, spend time a little bit if you want. But in a sort of nutshell, the reality is that it reduces your pain by giving to others and being in service to others. The other really neat thing is how many of us live stressful lives? Anybody, by a show of hands? Yeah. Maybe you're dealing with things in your personal life. Maybe you're dealing with things at work, in family, at church, in community. Maybe just life. You turn on the TV and you're like, oh my God, I feel stressed first thing in the morning because the world, like what is going on? So when you, again, remove yourself from the center of your little world and you put somebody else in the center of your world, you can literally reduce your stress. So it becomes a stress reliever. So you're able to boost your mood and you're able to counteract cortisol, which in the field of medicine, we refer to this as a stress hormone. So I'm just going to read what I have underneath there. It's a little smaller font. High levels of cortisone can lead to blood sugar imbalances, decreased bone density, and we work hard for that. We know that ladies especially, as we age, we need to lift weights because we need to make sure that we're reducing osteoporosis risk. And you're also affecting your muscles, your blood pressure. You're increasing abdominal fat. Did you know that? With stress, just stress alone. And usually the link between stress relief and some of these things is that cortisol boost, right? So if in giving and being of service to others, being available to just listen to somebody that's being in service to someone, and we'll get into some examples later, you're counteracting that cortisol. You're relieving your own stress. It's in your fingertips, and it's actually more in your heart. The other thing related to happiness and health is that you may not have heard, but there is actually a term that kind of, I think, embraces this beautifully. It's called the helper's high. So have you ever been in a situation where you give to someone in need, or you show up for a friend when they need you the most, and you just feel this sense of euphoria, this sense of pleasure, right? And obviously there are different levels of pleasure, but that sense of like, God, I did something really good for someone, and it just feels good. Like your body, your mind, your spirit, your psyche, emotionally, you just feel recharged. And it's a chain reaction, right? So mentally and physically, there are these reactions that happen. And because of that, they refer to this as the helper's high, because it's like you're getting high, but without inducing that with drugs. Any questions so far on that? Questions, comments, anything? No? Okay. The second reason to put service at the center of your life is because we learn and we grow when we do that. And isn't that what life is all about? Learning and growing, and not staying in stasis, and not staying stagnant and dull. Something that I hear a lot is like, life is just boring. Life is monotonous. There's just like monotonous tone, right? You wake up, you go to work, you eat your lunch, you take a break, you end your work day, you cook dinner, you take care of family, friends, whatever. And then guess what? You go to sleep, you do it again. And it feels to a lot of people like Groundhog Day, over and over and over again. And so sometimes you can get really caught up in that. And there are studies that also show that that's one of the reasons that we can feel depressed, right? So that D word, I refer to it more as dullness, but that depression or that dullness, it will fade with the joy and the relief that you're bringing to somebody else. Because again, we've talked about the helper's high, we've talked about the chemical responses that happen in your brain, right? And that cortisol reducing. The other thing is it's primal, right? We want to learn, we want to grow, and it's instinctual to want to help somebody. Like if you see somebody that fell off their bike, is it not in your nature to get out of your vehicle, stop your car, get out of your vehicle, just check on that person? Like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Oh my goodness, do you need me to call somebody for you? It's an instinctual thing. And the reason why I bring this up is because for some people, it's actually not instinctual. It's not a primal instinct for them to want to help. And that's when, rather than judging the person, you look at their foundation. Something probably happened in their childhood. Sometimes, you know, the financial situations that families find themselves in can attribute to whether or not they have this primal instinct on high, or maybe a little bit suppressed, because it's more instinctual for them to survive. If they can barely survive on their own, how can they possibly be there for somebody else? They need to show up for themselves. And so that's why I said at the start of this presentation that sometimes putting service at the center of your life means putting yourself at the center of your life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we are naturally called to serve. So rather than being judgmental, if you see that somebody, like, I can't believe that person didn't help that person, or I can't believe that person hasn't called you, or I can't believe, you know, you're going through all this and your husband is whatever, or your wife is whatever. Remember that not everybody has this as built in. Again, going back to learning and growing, others' needs. By understanding the needs of others, you learn how others cope with stressful situations, with living situations, and oftentimes they're offering you learning strategies, right? Or coping mechanisms almost, right? So if, for example, a friend of mine, and this is a true story, said that they needed to see a dentist, but they didn't have health insurance. So what I did was I said, okay, give me your zip code. And I went online. This person isn't very good with internet. And so I went online and I found low income dental clinics that are near her home. And it's fascinating to me that after I did that, I had two other people come to me with similar situations. Like, you know, I really need to see a doctor, but I don't have the time and I don't have the money. And I'm like, well, did you know that there are low income clinics nearby? So in offering yourself in that way, by just sharing resources, sharing knowledge with somebody, you learn a lot about the community and what's available and the programs that are available, grants and scholarships and mentoring opportunities, volunteering opportunities. So again, learning and growing when you're meeting other people's needs, I think, can be very meaningful. And speaking of meaningful, there's also meaning and purpose, right? When you give, you start to understand a little bit more, and it's a natural sort of byproduct, your life's mission. So you can use your passions to guide your service, right? Service doesn't look the same for everyone. Service for me 1 year was traveling to Central America and helping either paraplegic or quadriplegic people that have suffered some pretty catastrophic injuries, teaching them how to surf. 1 year, that's what my life's mission was to travel during parts of the summer and go and help them learn how to surf. So use your passion. I have a passion for nature. I have a passion for the ocean. I have a passion for fitness. And so why not kind of tweak that a little bit and help with adaptive fitness? And it was unbelievable. So use your passions to guide your service and help find meaning and purpose in your life. The other thing is it can offer you insight. So it's an opportunity to help someone grow and then grow yourself in that process. Sometimes when you are of the caliber that can have conversations with like an executive at a shelter, for example, you're now able to sort of elevate yourself by having this meaningful connection with somebody that now, if you meet somebody else on the streets, you have a connection. You've built that professional relationship and you're growing, and who knows what that relationship might lead to in the future, right? You never know. You can also be a part of some kind of nonprofit organization and then all of a sudden find yourself on the executive board or find yourself in some volunteering opportunity. And then all of a sudden, maybe you were a lonely person before and now you have a sense of community, a sense of belonging. So just realize that it's not always all about the person you're helping. Sometimes there's that reward that's sort of built in to the act of giving and putting service first. The third reason to put service at the center of your life is, and we've talked about this a little bit, in giving, you receive. We all know that. We all know that. I know you know that. So first and foremost, I think that giving and being in service is unbelievably contagious. We've all seen it. You're driving and you see somebody, on the side of the road and they're asking for help, homeless, anything counts. You see the first car, give $1. And then everybody else prior to that had their windows rolled up, the car's locked, like, oh, I don't know. And then the second car rolls down the window, gives them $1. Third car rolls down the window, gives them $1. I've seen it. And I know you've seen it too, maybe not in that same example, but it's unbelievably contagious. There's this ripple effect that happens when we're generous with our time, our energy, sure, our money, our resources. So, there's this sort of movement of wanting to be an influencer on the gram. Like you're on Instagram. I don't have any of that stuff, but I know that a lot of people want to be influencers. Like I want to be a model for this clothing line. I want to be a model for these sunglasses, for fitness, whatever. But I say, let's be influencers for service. And let's make that super cool. In giving, you receive. So holding space and just listening to someone is a perfect example of being generous with your time and your energy. If you're able to hold space with care and compassion and without judgment, you're receiving this gift of practicing active listening, which is something that is not natural for most of us. In fact, it's hard for me to just continue talking during this presentation because I'm so used to like, well, what do you think? Tell me about how, it's affected you in your life. So, practicing active listening allows for you to, in the workforce, right? When you're at work, now you're in this meeting and you might want to just chime in all the time, but you start to take this practice into work. You start listening a little bit more and then finding that right opportunity to chime in with something that's really meaningful instead of just if you're in conversation with a kid, like I was just in a conversation with my nephew and I'm practicing active listening because the first thing I want to say when he's spitting out these ideas, he's 18, so he thinks he's this adult. It's really cute. But I'm just listening and I'm gaining his confidence and I'm gaining his trust. And then at the end, I wait to ask more questions, open-ended questions, so that I can continue to learn what his mind is processing and thinking and planning for. So you receive in giving in this particular section here, this gift of learning how to listen, like really, truly listen. And then there's altruism. So being altruistic means putting others' needs above your own. Be careful with that, because we are very selfless people naturally. If you're in this group, I already know that about you. So this one, you gotta, be mindful, make sure that your cup is full before you start pouring out of your cup, or you're gonna find yourself in a depleted state, and it kind of puts you in a position to not be in service anymore, right? So be mindful of that, but that's what altruism means. And then be the light. This world can sometimes feel a little bit dark, and I hope I'm not alone in saying that. I think we probably all feel it to some extent. In some part of your life, you're feeling it. And everyone needs a cheerleader. Everyone. We're all guilty. We all want a cheerleader at some point, maybe not all the time, like the rah, rah, rah all the time. But when you're feeling your lowest, isn't it nice to have somebody be like your advocate, to be your cheerleader, to be there having appreciation for the hard work that you're going through and show up for you, right? And then this last one, I went back and forth. I'm like, should I put it in? Should I not put it in? Should I put it in? Should I not put it in? Karma. I know that not all of us may believe in karma, but I feel that most of us have this idea of what karma is. And whether or not you believe in it, I think that putting service at the center of your life still sets you up for success. If you want to call it something else, that's fine. But karma to me means a surplus of energetic money in your karmic bank account. So you can think of it as like, you give to someone, and then all of a sudden, that one thing that you were hoping for, that you were praying for, that you were setting so much intention and really using that law of attraction for, suddenly you got it, you attained it, you reached that goal. And you're like, like that almost felt a little effortless after all that. So don't think for a moment that your acts of giving, large or small, are not being noticed by fill in the blank, God, the universe, the creator, the divine feminine, whatever you want to call it. Know that it's being seen, it's being heard, it's being valued, and someone or something has your back. And I promise you that you will be rewarded, maybe not in the ways that you think right away, but you will know when that karmic bank account shows up for you. All right, next. Change starts with you. So this slide is related to how it's almost like that contagion section, where when you're giving, that ripple effect trickles down into others, and you're able to, again, influence others to sort of be a little bit less selfish. I think we all know family members or friends or community members that kind of put themselves first all the time, right? So realize that you have this incredible potential, incredible power to lead the change, right? Like be the change you want to see in the world. And it starts off maybe grassroots, right? Like a little grassroots movement. Start small, pay it forward. One act of kindness per day challenge. It's a beautiful time. We're about to get into June, right? It's a brand new month starting tomorrow. What if every single day of June, you display one act of kindness? It could be for yourself. It could be for somebody else. I'll give you an example. I'll give you plenty of examples later on, but I just kind of want you to kind of plant that seed in the back of your mind and know that you have an amazing opportunity, given that we're about to start a new month tomorrow. Your neighborhood, by being the first person to start putting service at the center of your life. Maybe you've got a fantastic garden. Maybe you have flowers. Maybe you have food. What if you just took a flower to your neighbor and said, hey, I'm harvesting all my flowers, and rather than seeing them just go to waste, I wanted to bring you a flower and thank you for being a great neighbor. Maybe it means giving your neighbor some of your harvest from your food supply, right? Maybe it means making an enormous pot of chili. This is a true story. I did this, and sharing it with your community. And now I'm known as a chili girl. But anyway, it also strengthens your ties to others, right? So who's going to be there during, a hurricane when you can't get down your road, you don't have any food, you're running low on fuel, water, what have you? It's your neighbors. So take care of your neighbors. It starts with you. Friends and family. So when you're available to show up for friends and family, it promotes cooperation. And one of the things that I think all of us have as a basic human necessity, social connection, right? So do you want to be associated as a person that is always thinking about themselves? Or do you want to be considered that person in the friends and the family networks that's there for others? Again, in different ways, we'll talk about some examples. We all know the negative Nancy's. No offense to any Nancy's in the room, but we all know the negative Nancy's. We all know the Debbie Downers. No offense to the Debbies. But just think about how your vibe attracts your tribe. And then community. So there is a study that altruism, helping, and volunteering is a pathway to well-being. It says in late life, and that's true. That's what the article says, so I wasn't going to change it. But I would almost suggest that I think it's the same for any life. And so again, I've included the link here. So you're welcome to read this on your own. Again, another National Library of Medicine. And it goes over the objectives, the method, the results, the discussion. And I think it's really fascinating. It's super fascinating. Now, I know that not all of us have the ability to volunteer, like a full volunteer gig. Not all of us have the time for that. But you can find ways to put service at the center of your life that are more attainable for you. Again, we're going to go into those examples next. And then the change starting with you means that you're having an impact on somebody. And I couldn't think of a better way to put this. The giver, meaning you, the giver gets the glory. So even though you're doing it with the right intention, with the right heart, with the right energy, you're also getting something in return. You're getting that glory. So not only does the giver get the glory, but the receiver then feels loved, cared for, heard, valued, noticed. And it could be the difference in saving someone's life, you guys. You never know when someone's at their lowest and all you did was smile at them and it prevented them from taking their life. It's a true story. These things happen all the time. So the impact that you can have when you put service at the center of your life it's a win-win. I found this online when I was putting this presentation together, and I absolutely love it. Again, I'm going to send the presentation, and if you guys want that, you can have it. Otherwise, you can always catch the replay. You can also take a screenshot of this, but shine. I absolutely love this. So serve, honor, which I think is timely given that it was just Memorial Day, inspire, nurture, and encourage. So after I saw that last night, putting the finishing touches on this presentation, I actually put this on my desk because I was like, I really, 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 really like this. And I might not be able to shine fully every day, but I can hine sometimes, I can any sometimes, I can do inspiration and a little nurturing, but maybe I can't serve on certain days. So anyway, I hope that this inspires you to maybe live in this shining principle, maybe a little bit more, and know that one of these is good enough. Maybe you can do all of them sometimes. With summer coming up, you might find yourself with a little more free time. And then I wanted to also make it a point to say that fulfillment is the byproduct. It's not the goal of servanthood. So if you're serving others with this goal of being fulfilled personally, it's great. You're still giving, and I think that's wonderful. You're making the world a better place. But just realize that when your heart is in the right place and your mind is aligned with your heart, it should feel more like a byproduct, but not necessarily the goal. Okay, now we're going to get into some ideas on how to serve. It can be as simple as I've already talked about, sharing information and resources that can be super valuable for people. Hope, just be a hope bearer. When somebody's super down on their luck, when somebody feels like they've hit rock bottom, you could be that little hope bearer for them. You can beautify a public park or a sidewalk So when people walk by your house or walk by that park that you go to every week, you're leaving behind little trails of your shine, your unique shine. Maybe you can be a tutor or a mentor. You can host workshops, maybe like a resume building workshop. For the youth, I've done mock interviews for them. So I pretend like I'm the person that's interviewing them. And I ask them those challenging questions, and you'd be surprised. They come back and they're like, I felt so comfortable. I felt like no matter what question they were going to ask me, like I was ready because I had rehearsed it. I've even done this for people who are going to go to court. Believe it or not, I've done it for doctors when they're going to do their first deposition. I coach them on sort of like the principles of undergoing a deposition. So these kind of mock interviews and mock preparatory skills are unbelievably helpful for people because you're going to use them and they're transferable in really anything you do. Animals, we've all probably done this at some point or know somebody that has. Volunteering at an animal shelter. I personally will never do that because I will want to take every animal home. Let me see if there's any smiles on that one. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I will want to take every animal home because I absolutely adore animals, and then it makes me sad to see their conditions, even though they're better than being out without food and water and shelter. So those are some ideas. And then I've got more ideas for you. Kindness. My mom showed my niece, her granddaughter, how to create a stone garden. So they would literally just go around the neighborhood on walks. They'd pick little rocks from different places and they would write messages. And they created this big stone garden where people, when they walked by the house, they would just take the one that kind of spoke to them. And you can do this with grandkids. You can do this with your own kids. All you need is a little paint. All you need is a little creativity. Honestly, not much. It doesn't have to be beautiful. In fact, the more imperfect it is, the more perfect it is. You know what I mean? So you can do something like a stone garden. This is one of my personal favorites. I do this all the time. I do random notes on cars. Yeah, I know it's a little intrusive. Maybe some might say that I'm violating someone's privacy, but I know that it puts a smile on someone's face. So the little notes can be like a quote, just like an uplifting quote. Did you know how beautiful you were? And if you didn't, I'm here to remind you today. And then on the back, I say, now put this on someone else's car. And so I don't know how far these notes go, and I don't know who they go to. I just put them on random cars, and I hope that it makes someone's day. Reading, you can read to students, or one of my favorites, reading to seniors. Visiting seniors in senior centers is kind of nice. They also have the best stories, you guys. Best stories. And it's history that you can learn directly from the source. Food, you can join or maybe organize a food donation drive, or you can cook for your community. That's fun too. Haircut, you can donate your hair. There are so many organizations, Locks of Love, Wigs for Kids, where your hair can be utilized as a wig. It can be transformed into a wig for a kid that's dealing with some kind of hair loss, whether it's cancer or alopecia. And then if you're like me and you're like, I can't go into a shelter, Lucia, no, my God, I can't do that. You can gather towels or start like a blanket drive and then start donating that stuff to your local animal shelter. So indirectly, you're still helping the animals without being there, right? So those are some examples. And now we open it up for questions and answers. So I see that we have plenty of time, you guys. We got 20 minutes, so we don't have to use up all the time if people want to go and have lunch. But let's see, becoming a lifelong learner increases your ability to be relevant, leading to joy. I am definitely a lifelong learner myself, Lucia. I love that. I love that. That's so great. Let your passion guide your purpose. Yes, Patricia, because guess what? When you're not in your passion and you're not in your purpose, it doesn't feel authentic to the person on the receiving end, right? So if your specialty happens to be, like, for example, Donna, I'm going to use you as an example. I know we're over the whole work thing right now, and I know that you finally have that in the back, but I'm thinking like catastrophic cases. Because you were in the industry for so long, I guarantee you, friends and family and your community, if something happens to somebody, they're calling you and they're like, what do I do? What do I need? Who do I need to talk to? Where can I go for this? And because that was your passion for so long and your purpose and your life's work for so long, and it's authentic. So let things like that guide your service. And I promise you that you're going to feel super satisfied at the end of it. This needs to be on my word wall. Oh, yeah. I think Patricia's gone. Have to jump off for an appointment. Really enjoying this and looking forward to the recording. Thanks so much. Oh, beautiful. Great. Great, great, great. Did anybody have any questions, comments, feedback? Don't be shy. Maybe you can share an example of how you've been in service to someone else. And I wanted to share a funny story with you about one time. My sister and I, we took sandwiches to San Francisco, like hundreds of sandwiches, you guys. We spent the night before just making all these sandwiches and putting them into these little Ziploc bags with chips and a water, things like that. We distributed them all around San Francisco to people in need. And this was when we were in high school. And one person in particular took the sandwich bag. As we were walking away, threw it, it hit my sister on her back. And this person said, I don't want your effing sandwich, B. I want your effing money. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because you need to be prepared for people who aren't ready to receive your help, right? And you need to be sensitive to the fact that sometimes when, even if your heart is in the right place and you want to help somebody, they might take it as being intrusive and being overwhelming. Some people want money for reasons that we may or may not know. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs. Who knows? Maybe he was just trying to pay for his health insurance. I don't know. But I will say that that was really hard for my sister. My sister was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, it almost made her not want to be in service. So I just want to remind you that if people don't meet you where you're at, don't take it personally. You just stay on your mission. You stay on track with being in service to others. And every time you will be rewarded twofold, tenfold. So I just wanted to share that. It's a funny story, but it's also not funny. But I felt called to share that with you because I don't know if you guys have ever experienced something like that where you really just want to help somebody and they totally took it the wrong way. They got offended. They got upset with you. Like, mind your own business. If I needed help, I would ask for help. And sometimes that's how they're asking for help. So maybe you guys can share if there's any experiences you've had in giving, in volunteering, or maybe other ideas for how we can all help each other to get on this path. Sure, please, don't be shy. Anybody? No?
All right, I waited 5 seconds, maybe 7. So, I want to make sure that we have, comments and chatting. I think I just put something in the chat because I didn't want to interrupt, but a lot of people on here are big fans of Give Kids the World. And I have to tell you that everything you said, okay, and I say it all the time. I've posted pictures of some of the people that are volunteering. The smiles are totally different than their normal smiles. It's crazy. There's a glow. Their mouth, normally a smile comes up to here. It's now up to their eyes. It's releasing endorphins and, it's amazing. And that alone, when you know what you're doing and you're doing it for the good of, people that are in such a horrible, horrible situation. If people don't know what it is, Give Kids the World Village it's in Orlando. It's a couple 100 acres. It looks like a little miniature Key West, and it's specifically for children that have been diagnosed with severe chronic or terminal diseases or illnesses. And they go through Make-A-Wish Foundation. And if the kids wish for, go to Disney World, they are granted a wish and they stay at Give Kids the World Village, which is, it's unbelievable. It's mostly volunteers are, working there full time. And when you volunteer, this isn't like, you go and you sort in clothes, or this is, when we do it for workers' conference in August, it's literally working in, it's 95 degrees out there. and you're sweating and you're painting and you're putting up a fence, or you're painting a fence, or you're putting down mulch, or it's a lot of work. And even after that, everybody is soaking wet and filthy. And that the look on their faces, you know, getting on the bus, everybody's energized. There's an energy that comes from that. You know, Bloom is a huge supporter, obviously, of Give Kids the World. Annalise actually pulled me off of an assignment I had there because I guess I was turning like purple out in the sun. But it doesn't make any difference. You're like, okay, what else can I do that's, you know, that's not out in the sun? You have that wonderful feeling of giving. And you know, I don't think that people who have not experienced, you know, the volunteering to that degree really understand that excitement. It's an excitement. So, and any of you jump in, agree, disagree, argue with me, whatever. But, and I know a lot of people on here, you're caregivers, even when you're working, you work, and no matter what it is you're doing for the patient or the injured employee, you know, you're doing it for them. And I don't care what it is. Our jobs are personal to us. I hate when somebody says, oh, it's, you know, it's not personal. It is. What we're doing is personal. It's giving of yourself to help other people. So no matter what anybody says about it, that's really what it is. It might be your job, but anyway, so good. You got some people that want to talk. Good.
Let's do it.
Go for it. Lucia, did you want to say? Yeah, there she is.
Okay, fine. I'm going to jump in. I was waiting on Melly because I didn't want to jump in front if she had. Okay. I just wanted to co-sign on what you said, and I want to check your pronunciation because our names are spelled so similarly. So yours is it Lucia or Lucia?
Lucia.
Lucia, and I'm Leisha.
Leisha.
Lucia.
Yeah, so we're so close. But I just wanted to share because you had mentioned giving random notes to people. And so I did, it was called 40-Day Miracle. So 40daymiracle.com. I did that. And I'm still doing it, not all facets of it, but man, was it life-changing for me after about the second week. I kind of started seeing things differently, which I love. But a part of that involved gifting a stranger, someone outside of your home, something every day. Something monetary, to be specific, every day. So I struggled with it on the front end because I work remotely. And then two, what am I gift monetary? Like, how do I do that? So it took me a while, but where I landed was I just bought $45 Starbucks gift cards. So I started with that, but then it morphed into, well, let me go buy blank note cards and do what you did. I just wrote positive, uplifting messages. And my takeaway from it, one, was that I guess I'm not a giver on a normal basis when it comes to people I don't know. So that broadened my perspective, but also the reaction of these people, because I was in parking lots. I mean, I was everywhere in restaurants, at the grocery checkout line, you know, and I just gifted one of the employees, and I keep it moving. I'm not waiting for any acknowledgement. I'm participating in this 40-day, what I hope to be life-changing. So I'm doing it and just saying hi, you know, or whatever. But people stopped me. I heard people from behind screaming out, "You're the best," you know, things of that nature. And many of them hadn't even opened the envelope. So I thought that was interesting because I don't receive when people come up to me to hand me stuff, like in parking lots. I'm always polite, but I've never received it. So
That interesting.
yeah,
Isn't
really
it?
interesting.
You're good at being the giver, but when somebody wants to do a kind act for you, you're like, "Oh."
But I never saw it as a kind act, right? Because I'm always the protect your space, your place in the world. And so if it looked like it was some event or whatever, I just didn't didn't receive it. So yeah, I learned a lot. So I just wanted to share that with you just to say, yep, you're right. Those notes sometimes are the best thing ever for someone, because we don't know what they're dealing with. And they may be fine, but it's still kind.
Still
So, and it
uplifting.
doesn't cost a lot.
The way that I see it is you're never going to make anybody's day worse than what it is.
There you go.
A great day. Now they're having an amazing day. Or they could be having a really shitty day. And now it's like, okay, they know it's going to be okay because some random person put the note in their card that they needed right at that exact moment. And I almost feel like I'm guided. I don't want to get religious or philosophical, but I'm like, I'm kind of guided to the cars that I'm like, I think this person really feel like I'm feeling like this car needs this sign.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so I started getting creative. I started using, Lucia, I started using Post-its because I was like, I need a little stickiness on my papers because otherwise they're going to fly away. So I started using Post-its, and I would use a label maker to like actually print out on a label whatever the quote was or whatever the message was, and then just stick that to my Post-it and then stick the Post-it onto the car.
Nice. Yeah.
It's cute.
Very thoughtful, very uplifting.
Thanks for sharing. I'm going to look into that. Is 40 Days Miracle?
Day, singular, 40day miracle.com, I believe. I'll look really quickly.
What inspired you to do that?
So you're gonna appreciate this, particularly Donna will appreciate it, I'm sure. So I'm working with a coach, because every coach should be working with the coach at various times. And I learned about it from my coach. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Never stop learning.
Nope. I love it. It's kind of stressful though, but at times, but I love it.
Yeah. Melly, did you have something to add? Were you gonna say something or no? Like, no.
No, it was good. I just wanted you to see my face and know that I was participating, like taking all the information in.
Did anybody else want to share anything? Vanessa, is it Deborah or Deborah? I've got a 954 number. Annalise, I don't know if you needed to share anything or felt called to say anything. Oh, thank you for the link. There it is, 40day.com.
You're welcome.
Well, since we have time, let's just see. Wow. I like it. Oh, and there's even prayer requests. Cute. I will definitely look into it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Well, I challenge you guys. I'm not going to hold you accountable. You can hold yourself accountable. But for the month of June, I don't know. Maybe you create a little challenge for yourself and you find whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong. That's a beautiful part about this is there is no right, there is no wrong. And that's why at the end, I wanted to include just a couple of examples because sometimes the things we don't think about, like chopping off this stuff. You know, when I was in high school, I went from like hair down to my butt cheeks to pixie cut. And people are like, why would you cut your hair? And I'm like, because I donated it to a kid with cancer. And they're like, oh, okay. And suddenly people are like, oh, okay. And it was interesting because in society, I think ladies, you'll agree with me because I think we're all ladies. I don't know about the 954 number, but we're trained since we were very little. We've been programmed to think that hair is femininity. So if you don't have long hair, you're basically a boy, right? And it was very interesting to see in high school, even my peers, like the people that are my friends or were my friends, they're like, oh my gosh, Lucia, are you gay? And I'm like, because I don't have long hair. So also realize when you're in service, people might start to question, like, who are you? What are you doing? And it's like, I cut my hair and it's going to grow back. What's the big deal? It's just hair. And I helped a kid with cancer, like, and how interesting that we can use these giving opportunities to also re-educate people. Like, just because I have short hair does not make me a lesbian. And even if I was a lesbian, what does that matter? I'm still a giving person with a good heart that cut my hair. Like, what? So I also find it fascinating how quick people are to judge you, even when you're in the middle of this act of giving. So sometimes in the beginning, Lucia, I don't know if it was this way for you, but like I would put my signs on cars and I'm like kind of like looking like people probably think I'm like pitching some event, or I'm some like DJ person, or I'm like, trying to sell them something. Little do they know it's like nothing like that at all. But in the beginning, like I was shy about it. I would kind of like make sure nobody's watching and then kind of stick it and then like book it. Right. And now
Or they think you're crazy. They think you're, woo-hoo.
yes, that's like, God, it's like, no, this is just a good-hearted thing. So now I just slap them on. I'm just doing my business, slapping them on. Now I don't care. And even that, I think, Lucia, is reminding us that life does not have to be so serious, and we don't have to care what people think. They can think, Donna, that I'm a crazy girl, and they can think that I'm, messed up in the head, and that's okay. Shame on them for thinking that, because little do they know what's in this note could save a life. Like the people that, I don't know if there is this in Florida, but here, the Golden Gate Bridge, the San Francisco Bridge, there are people, what are they called? Like bridge angels or something like that just stand on the bridge, because a lot of people take their lives on this bridge. So people will go to the bridge and then decide to jump off the bridge. And so there are these like angels that just stand on the bridge, and they're just there so that if they see somebody on the edge, they're not there to judge you. They're just like, hey man, like what's going on? Just have a conversation with this person that has decided today to take their life, but you know that there's a little angel there going to have a conversation with you. But if you didn't know that, you see this guy walking around with like bridge angel on the back and walking down the bridge, and you're like, what is this guy doing? Saving lives. And they're volunteering their time. I think that's pretty fascinating too. So you can do so many different things. There's no right, there's no wrong. I have a friend that's battling cancer. She's 38, 39, endometrial cancer, stage 4. And so we've become pen pals. She doesn't live far. She lives maybe like an hour and a half away, but driving is hard for her with the job. I can't be there for her in person, but I'm like, what can we do? And I'm like, oh my God, let's be pen pals. And she's like, oh my God. So she's so excited to have a pen pal. And I mail her books so that when she's undergoing like immunotherapy and all her treatments that can be really long, she's got something to read. And they're just books that are, I think, really fitting for what she's going through and preparing her for what may or may not be the end of her life. Eventually, yes, but sooner might be, right? So even sending somebody a book, recommending a book to someone can be how you give. So anyway, I think we are out of time, 9:58, and I want to be sensitive to your time. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for giving me your time and energy, because that's your greatest asset. I appreciate you guys. Until next month.